This is what we call the workshop assistant. So what is the workshop assistant? The workshop assistant is a plugin from MasterShip into Navisworks. And using this plugin, we get all the MasterShip information from your construction drawings into your 3D model. So this is the thing that we can actually place in the workshop or at the drawing office. And the advantage of this over regular MasterShip is that this is very user-friendly and very easy to use. Anyone will understand it in minutes. So what we see here is the 3D model of a Explorer vessel. This vessel is about 100 meters long and has a beam of 18 meters. We use this model for internal purposes, so for training ends and etc. So if we take a look at it, we can look a little bit around. You can see here on the left, we have the selection tree, as we call it. And if you click on it, the according section will be highlighted in blue. So for example, if I click here, then you see this section, etc., etc., etc. And you can also zoom into this section. So I click hide and selected, and then we look only at this section. It can be quite helpful, but we can also look only at the equipment, for example. So we look at the propeller and the helicopter, the main engine, and whatnot. And then we hide the rest. And then we have a look only at the equipment in the ship. So that's a helpful tool, depending on. So this might be used in the early design stages for the space claim, but also for the later collision checks. And if you use this model in your workshop, you typically want to look at one section. So let's take this section from the bow. So this is what you typically would place in the workshop. So in this workshop, we are going to work on only one section. So this is what we are going to look at. So now if we look around, you can orbit a little or do things. And if you click apart, so here I click now the deck plate, and you already see the MasterShip information. So here you see now, for example, I hope you can see it via the stream. But here on the right, you can see the part identification number, the section number, the thickness, the material, the drawing from which it originates. But there's more information that you can get. So in fact, all the information which is stored in the MasterShip database, so each part has a lot of meta information in it. You can get, if you like, all this information into your workshop assistant. So you can also get, for example, information about the treatment that this part needs, or who did make this part, which draftsman did it make. So if you have a question about it, then you can go to the draftsman. Hey, why did you think of this? Why did you model it in this way? And that can be very convenient. So this is now not very transparent yet because we cannot really look into it. So what we can do, we can maybe hide a few deck plates, and then we can look into the model a little bit. But what is maybe better is if we really look through it, and we do that with the sectioning. This is now an example of a box. We can also do a plane. And I can now click this surface. And then I can really move through the model. So I can now look into those tanks here on the side. I can pull it further down. I can look at the floor or the bottom with the floors. And I can do this for only this section, but we can also do it for the total ship. So now we look at the complete bottom of the ship. And then again, you can go up and down and back and forth, so you can do this in all directions. You can also do a box view. It can also be quite helpful. So here we have a box view, and we can make this box either bigger or smaller. So now we have the box a little bit bigger, and then if you move it, you can go through the model. And what we like to do is to make it small, so maybe, for example, about 1 meter. And then you really have a slice of the 3D model, and then you can move through it. So if I now go forward, I really get this intersection of my model. And where am I now in my model? So if I click on, for example, this part, then I see, okay, here on the right, we again have the data of that part, and this says this is frame 97. So now I know, okay, this is frame 97. I know where I am in my model, and then we can just take a good look. So this is, those are this is, I think, the workshop assistant in a nutshell. This is how we can use it either in the drawing office or in the workshop. So this box view is something that you will typically use in the drawing office and not per se on the shop floor. But if you use it on the shop floor, you can use the full model with only the section. So then you go this, and then you get your parts. So one thing I want to show that is maybe nice, because all the information from the MasterShip database is back into this model. You can also look up parts very quickly. So we can, for example, go here, find the items of this section 228. And then we can say we only want to see the parts from, you can do anything. So with a thickness of equal to 10 millimeters, for example. And then we do find all. And now all the parts with a thickness of 10 millimeter are now highlighted in blue. We can do that for any, so it's not only thickness, you can do also maybe the drawing path or the ID or the type, or maybe even the author of the drawing, etc., etc. So those are very nice links back to the MasterShip database. And then finally, I owe you the demonstration of the collision checks. So what we have with the collision checks, it was to prevent, to identify the collisions in your 3D model, to prevent them from having the actual collisions in your workshop. So this is also, again, something that we use in the drawing office. So therefore, this functionality, the clash detective, we have. And let me reset this to, I snap it out better. Reset all. So we can make a test, and then we can say, oh, we want to compare this selection, section A, we want to compare it to the selection on the right. So we can say, for example, we want to see the collisions between section 228 and the firefighting system, for example. If we then run the test, we get all the collisions between the piping of the firefighting system and the solids of the 3D construction model of section 228. But you can also look for internal collisions in section 228. So that's, for example, a bracket intersecting the hull, or a stringer going through a bulkhead, things like that. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to look at section 228 again, and then self-intersecting, and then we give it a tolerance of 10 millimeters in this case. So you can also say we make a tolerance of 1 millimeter, 10 or 20 or whatever. We go for 10 millimeters tolerance, And then we run the test, and here you get 8 clashes in section 228. And then here you see the clash number, and then if you click on it, you can really see it. I put this on the right side of the screen. I make this a little bit bigger and this a little bit smaller. So here we see our first clash. In red, we see a stiffener, and in green, we see a hull plate, I suppose. Yeah. And you see how they clash. So this is a clash of 38 millimeters, which is quite significant. You can orbit around a bit, and there you see it. This stiffener is going through the hull plate. So that is simply an engineering mistake. Then we have a few other clashes. This is bracket, also on the hull plate. Another bracket on the hull plate. And another bracket. So brackets seem to have been a problem in this in this drawing, but as you see, they are just going at the hull thickness. So it might be, this is probably just a mistake that an engineer made, but this will solve itself in the actual production. And we can say, okay, all those clashes of the brackets, we approve them. It's no problem. It's fine as they are. But if we say this is a problem, then we can say, okay, this is an active clash, and we can assign it to somebody, and that somebody can then fix that mistake. But for now, we say this is approved. We get all green dashes, and that's very nice. But then we have 2 clashes left. So this one from the stiffener, and the second is like the same, but then on the port side of the ship. So those clashes are, let's say, they are not acceptable. So we have to make them active, and we are going to assign this clash to the engineer, Gijs van Beek. And then we give it a note. This is a clash, and check the length of the stiffening. Then we do OK, and then we get the status, and then we can update this in our 3D MasterShip model. Then we go to the MasterShip model. So this is the same section, but then made and viewed in MasterShip. And we already know where the clash is. It was on the bottom. And let's zoom in, and there you see it. So here you see that stiffener going through the hull plate. That's not what we want. So we are going to fix it. And this is now the drawing office. So we are now in the drawing office. And this is, for example, either the workshop or the overview that the project manager gets. So this is now back in the drawing office. So I'm now a draftsman, and I'm going to look at this part. This is the one which is going through the hull. We can now decide to make this stiffener shorter, or we just move it. I'm going to move it up by 50 millimeters. And I think it was also clashing on this side. Let's adjust it. Also by 50 millimeters up. So now we have no clash anymore. So I fixed the clash in my 3D MasterShip model. And here in the assembly, it will be updated. I reload this frame, yes. And you see it's now gone. So this is now still the drawing office. But we want to see it in the workshop. So assume we are now in the workshop, and the collision is fixed. We refresh our model, and this can take a few seconds. So only the relevant drawings are updated. Yep. Only the relevant are updated. And if we now look at our clash again, so here this was the clash, and this was also the clash. We do our test again. So we rerun the test, and there we see it. Clash 1 and Clash 2 are also both resolved. So that's automatically identified. We can take a look at it, but we can also just say, hey, they are indeed resolved. So we do not see it poking through the hull plate anymore. So we are happy. So this was now an example of a collision fix. But you can also do this with revisions, and that's very helpful if you are in the workshop. So you say, oh, I want to give this slightly a different angle, or I want to adjust the end details of my stiffeners, I don't know. Then you can update it in your MasterShip model, and within seconds, it's updated in the 3D model from the workshop as well. And that will prevent rework because your workshop drawing is automatically updated. So I think we have sort of seen it all for the workshop assistant, or not all, but there is of course much more. But we are a little bit short on time. So I think it's good to wrap up and go back to our PowerPoint presentation